the bronchial arteries, we work in there sometimes for people that are coughing up blood, having hemoptysis, and typically people with chronic infections or like CF
Right.
can develop bronchial bleeding due to chronic bronchiectasis, those kind of things. And so we go in there and embolize those arteries, and so they're really big when they're like 3 millimeters, and yours are like 8 millimeters. So
8?
yeah, so you've got 2 that come off the aorta and supply this thing, and they're very large. And then the malformation goes, there's a big aneurysm that's like 3 centimeters, and then it goes into the pulmonary veins, and it's draining in the pulmonary veins, and then there's varix of the pulmonary veins. And so this is concerning for a few reasons. You probably tolerate it so well because it's not like a left to right shunt, it's a left to left shunt. So the left side of the heart, the aorta, is coming back, and then it's going back and draining back into the left heart. If it was going back and draining into the right heart, this would have probably presented earlier with problems. But we're worried about the aneurysm. We want to occlude that. We want to embolize that because if that were to rupture, that would be significant. There's a lot of blood going through it. And so So these are images, how you look at a chest x-ray. You can see your ribs here. So this is part of your malformation here.
Whoa.
All of this. These are the bronchial arteries. They're coming off the aorta.
Wow.
This one. Again, these are more than 3 times the size that they should be.
Oh.
And so these are coming over into here. So one's going into here, one's going down and then into here. And then these are aneurysmal dilatations of part of this. Here's a big part of it as well. So, one part of it's kind of going to the base down here. And then there's communication to pulmonary vein. And then here's kind of what the normal vein should look like back here.
So it's just all intertwined.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So what do you think?
Yeah. So the options here are surgically go in and ligate it. This is a big surgery to get access to your aorta in your chest. And then what I would offer is an embolization. So going in with wires and catheters in the aorta, getting wires and catheters out into this stuff, and then occluding it from the inside. And so, again, anything that goes through this whole system goes back to the left side of your heart. So the pulmonary arteries go left side of the heart, and then the left side of the heart pumps to the whole body.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a concern because anything that flies through this could potentially cause you to have a stroke. Have you ever had TIAs or
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I had a scary day once. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. And so, there's already, there's thrombus in this aneurysmal part. That's just like clotted blood, this dark stuff. So there's calcium, which means it's been there for a long time. And then this is like mural thrombus, and that happens because so we see that all the time in aneurysms because blood's flowing through a system and then it's hitting a area of dilatation, so the blood on the periphery is slowing down, it slows enough to clot. And so, you know, there's not a lot in the literature on these.
Yeah.
So there's like case reports of these. Sometimes they communicate with the pulmonary arteries, and so it's easy for us to access the pulmonary arteries. We can go through the heart, through the venous system, and get there. The pulmonary veins are difficult for us to access because,
I imagine.
yeah, it's just not something that we are familiar with. It's not something we need to do ever, and so we don't do it.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult thing for us to do. So, yeah, I think, you know, the main idea here would be to shut this thing down, and it will kind of depend on what we find. We have a pretty good idea of what we're going to find, but I would, you know, try to get the catheter as close out to these aneurysms as possible, and then probably use an NBCA glue, which is very similar to super glue. And it's good because it's fairly well controlled, and causes, you know, permanent occlusion of vessels.
Wow.
It'll kind of depend on how things look though angiographically when we're doing the studies. If things are flowing too fast, we'll have to kind of change our approach on the fly, and that may be coils to slow it down, so that because what we don't want is things like glue or anything else to fly through the system and go to the other side.
Yeah. Jeez, I'm so
and then-
sorry. This is very complicated for you guys.
Yeah. Then so the other thing, you know, is as this thing thromboses, you know, could this thing throw off little emboli, like little bits of clot, and would you be at risk of stroke? Potentially. So this part of the pulmonary vein is very large, and so we expect this to thrombose when there's nothing coming